Hey, how's everyone doing today? It is Berkfamily54comics. I'm Steve. Welcome to our Thursday night chat, powered up comic book reviews. I'm excited to talk some comic books. I'm waiting to see if a couple more of the people I invited show up to join us. As of right now, I have one of my trusty friends always that joins me. We got Ryan in the house. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's up, man? Pretty excited to talk comic books and get to talk about things that are fun and interesting because I have been locked in the house for like almost 2 weeks now. So maybe longer than that. But anyway, yeah. So I'm excited to just, even if it's a virtual escape, it's some kind of escape. So I'm excited to talk Power Rangers and whatever else comes across the table.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you here. I'm going to go ahead and do the vertical one. It's easier to see for everyone. We got a couple people in the house, not very many yet. That's all right. We got Christian. Hello. How you doing? We got
Hi.
Tosh. I don't think I've ever seen Tosh before. So what's up? Before we get any farther, I'm going to go full screen real quick. I would like to mention to everyone, if you've not already seen, I am doing a 700 and 800 subscriber giveaway. So if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. I would love it because I do hauls, unboxings, live streams, speculations, all sorts of stuff. So I would love it if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I am doing a giveaway right now. I'm giving away this awesome slab. It is a Deathstroke 33, CGC 9.6. You can win this along with some free books. And in second place would also win some free books. All you got to do is head over to my 700 and 800 subscriber giveaway video. I think a link to that is in the description. I believe I put it in there. But if not, head over to my channel. You can make a comment for one entry. There's questions in the description of that video. You can get one entry, or you can make a video for 3 entries. You have until Saturday to enter. Saturday night at midnight is the last day you can enter for my contest. So yeah, I'm giving away this. So please make sure you subscribe to my channel and enter my contest. We got another Kansas person in here. We got the Panda. What's up, man? How you doing? You said you haven't seen me live before. All right. Well, I'm happy to have you here. So I've had a couple good live streams this week. On Monday, I talked with Karate Kevin over at Superpower Review about what not to do when collecting comic books. We had a lot of really good advice. And then yesterday, I was actually able to interview Comics of Bueller about several ideas, different ways that he recommends starting a comic book YouTube, which was really helpful for me and everyone else in the comic book community that joined us. And so that was pretty fun. Tonight is more relaxed. We're just going to be talking comic books. There's usually new ones that come out, but obviously if no new comic books coming out, us Power Ranger guys are going to be talking some Power Ranger comic books. Now, Ryan, you said that you have been reading a couple different series. So why don't you go ahead and talk about what books that you've been reading lately?
Yeah. A couple, maybe almost a week ago now. No, I think it was over the weekend actually. I was listening to a podcast where they interviewed John Layman. And so then I was like, oh yeah, I grabbed issue number 2 of The Man That Effed Up Time, but I haven't actually read it. So I was like, let me go back and read both of those. And then in the back of the book, Aftershock is advertising their other books that have just come out. And so I ended up just like sitting there on Comixology and like methodically reading everything on that back page. So that was a ton of fun. I read The Man That Effed Up Time, Join the Future, Undone by Blood, and God Killers. And then other than that, I've just been like binging the crap out of some awesome Power Rangers comics. So it's been a really good week. I've been reading a lot, and I'm excited to talk about all of it.
That's awesome. I keep clicking on the wrong thing. There we go. My wife has been watching The Handmaid's Tale a lot. I don't know if you've heard of that or seen it. It's on Hulu, and it's kind of dystopian future stuff. And so she's watching that. My kid's hanging out playing or watching her iPad. And after I get done with work, I'm not going to watch Handmaid's Tale. So I got a comic book box right next to me. I've been also binging some Power Rangers. I have read 1 through 8 of Go Power Rangers. This is issue 1, the 1 of 10. It's a pretty sweet cover of Jason.
Oh, it's a great cover. Yeah.
Right. And then I've also been reading, obviously, the regular Mighty Morphin. I've read issues 0 through 26. And then I read an annual and then the Shattered Grid ending, which I'm going to go back through. Panda says that his wife also watches. I'm going to go back through and reread 27 through 31. But I'm excited to talk the ending to Shattered Grid because I remember when it came out, I was like, dang, this ending is complete trash. And like going back and rereading everything, knowing already how it ends, like it's actually quite a bit better than I remember. I don't know if that's you feel or not, but that is how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed it more, like knowing, having a better idea of where it's coming from, and then also knowing where it's all going to go. So yeah, I mean, I still feel like there's a lot of like publisher push there or brand push. Like we need to get the other Ranger teams in here because I do still feel a little like heavily inserted. But yeah, I mean, even so, like we were talking before, it definitely has some pacing issues, and it doesn't feel like the best issue of the whole story. You know, I really feel like it ended at 30, and then this was just kind of fluff to like fill it out. But you go through like basically a rush final battle, and then you get like this really quick wrap up at the end. So the pacing to me is what hurt it the most. Really, it could have been better paced than that.
Well, what's interesting to me is there's like a lot of like questions that are still like to me left unanswered because Jason kind of sacrifices himself in the issue to save everyone else, and then suddenly he reappears in Draken's world along with all these other Rangers that are different things, whether they're reporters or his mechanic or whatever. It honestly kind of looked like he created his own world where he's kind of Superman and Batman and a Power Ranger all in one.
Oh my god, I was reading it whenever he walks outside and opens his shirt, I was like, that's incredibly Superman, you know?
And
then whenever he goes to
Superman, and then he's got Finster like Alfred being his butt.
Yeah, like Finster like comes out, he's like, yeah, there's another emergency or whatever, and I'm like, this is super Alfred-y right now. Like, what's going on here?
Well, and the person that wrote was Kyle Higgins, who did do a run on Nightwing, so he does have quite a bit of knowledge of the DC universe. So that makes sense. But I don't know. There's still a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense to me. You and I were talking beforehand about how like the Yellow Ranger from Grace's original team, like whatever happened to him? Why has he not been mentioned? They show Grace Sterling and all the people from Beyond the Grid as Promethea floats away. So like, do they go back to their original teams? Like, I don't know how all of that. I didn't read Beyond the Grid series, so I don't really know for sure. But it just feels very, I don't know, too many questions left unanswered.
Well, I mean, that's definitely set up for Beyond the Grid. But yeah, basically, Promethea goes off into like almost like Zordon. Like they're in between dimensions and in between time and stuff. And so they have no like actual connection to the grid. Like their morphers don't work or anything. But all the people that are on Promethea, that is who is there for Beyond the Grid. And they kind of form a core team out of all of the range. Like it's a ship full of like 500 Rangers or something, you know?
Right.
And I imagine the concept was if it goes on long enough, we'll kind of have like this rotating team. So we can always see like a mishmash of different Rangers from different eras. But really, it was just like they at the beginning of the whole thing, they kind of formed like a core 5-man team, and throughout the 9 issues of it, it stays the same, pretty much the same team. So I think there was bigger ideas there that just never got executed on. But yeah, that does kind of stay open ended because they just kind of like float off at the end. So if you don't follow after that, then it doesn't make that much sense.
Well, what's interesting is in this issue we get a good look at Draken again, and like I had kind of forgotten that his like heart or insignia that he has on his dragon shield or is the same like symbol that I saw. I noticed it right away. Obviously, when he did the whole Superman thing, I'm like,
Yeah.
that is the same symbol that is in the hallway for the end of issue 49 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, where the Red Ranger's like, oh my gosh, not the Red Ranger, the Red Emissary or however you want to say it. It goes back and says, Tommy, I know you're here somewhere. And it turns out, like, they never show who it was, or he says Draken, but it makes sense because he sees it on a wall that's the same insignia that Draken uses. And so, obviously, now going back and reading it, I'm like, okay, so Draken is definitely coming back into the Mighty Morphin series.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've all kind of suspected that for a while, but yeah, that definitely ties it up there. I don't know. I don't remember seeing it, but I'll have to go back and read that part. But I know what you mean about the symbol, like the red diamond with the little flame-looking thing.
See, yeah, it was in. I sent it in that group message to you and Dustin. I'll see if I can pull this up really quick. It was either at the end of Mighty Morphin 49, or
is it like in the gateway area?
What's that?
Is it in that gate, like where they're going to the morphing gate or whatever?
Or it's at the or it's those covers that everyone's been talking about, the story covers, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. The final story cover.
Yeah, gosh darn it.
So do you think the whole story cover thing is a I guess like a setup for the plot itself in that in this storyline?
Yes, it is.
Ah.
Okay, here we go. So here is the story cover. I'm going to try to this. Which number is this? Okay, I'm going to try to pull this up. And I'm going to show you guys what I mean, because it is not in the story. It is the covers for 48 and 49. And so Ryan was Parrot that does Necessary Evil was kind of trying to hide it. So you had to be picking up those issues to see it. And it was really only just like the last 2 issues. Gosh darn it. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, actually, it's 49. It is 49. Because that other one is in issue 50.
Final piece?
Yes. Okay, here it is. Okay. All right, let me go full screen. Let me go. I am excited to see Draken again. Yes. All right. Here we go. All right, so I don't know. I'm gonna make this wider. Okay. So this is a Red Emissary. This is from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 49. This is the FOC. This is the story variant. I'm gonna go ahead and read it if you can't see it very well. But there is a place that exists outside of time, a world created from anger, resentment, and vanity. What began as a dream is now a prison, and it must remain so for all eternity. There is no hope in hiding. I know you are here somewhere, Tommy, says the Red Emissary. Or if you still prefer, Lord Draken. And he sees a symbol, And he goes, impossible. And then this thing says, how can one claim to see all? And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find see if I can find the story variants. I'm going to stop sharing for a second until I find it. Hey, what's up, Samuel David? How you doing? And I sent this in a group message to you guys. Gosh darn it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see it. It's like right there on the wall by the bar.
See, yeah, that's the same symbol. And obviously, the story talks about how that world was created from anger and resentment. That was a world that Draken created because he was like a god. You know what? This is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna find Ryan Parrott's Twitter, because he actually put the photo of it on his Twitter. So I'm gonna go find it here.
Oh yeah, is that where he's dropping like a piece every day or something?
Okay, so I'm gonna go and go full screen here again. Okay. All right, so this is the one I just read. This is the FOC for issue 49. Talks about this world created by Draken. Has Draken's symbol, and he's looking for Lord Draken. And then Lord Draken, or someone, how could it not be Lord Draken? How can one claim to see all and yet still see nothing? And you see like there's like droid looking, like, I don't even know. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd call that a droid. I don't know if you'd call that Zord. I don't even know. But he
looks like an airplane from here.
But obviously, it cuts the red emissary in half and destroys it. Fate is finally ours again. So, obviously, we have the return of Lord Draken. So, So now, looking at reading Shattered Grid and noticing that's the same symbol, and then seeing these FOC covers that hardly anyone was picking up, and he kind of did that on purpose. I feel like making a story kind of tie into it. What do you think about those covers and the return of basically the return of Lord Draken coming in after Necessary Evil or in issue 50?
Yeah, I mean, I have probably the first half of this run of the connecting story variant covers. So, yeah, I mean, it's just hard to keep up with. I think my store stopped getting them at some point. They probably weren't ordering enough once we really got into the event. As far as them bringing back Draken, like, I'm okay with that. I hate whenever people, like, kind of make it out like, Tommy is the only ranger, because there's so many more great rangers out there. But I don't have the hatred that a lot of people do. So I don't mind if Draken comes back. My only thing is, like, don't give us the same thing. Like, there needs to be a very unique spin on this, or else it's just going to feel really old and fan servicey,
And it kind of looks like it is, because it doesn't really look like Draken. It kind of looks like something else cooked up there in that world. Maybe that's where the Finster 5 is still creating stuff for Draken. So
yeah, that's my only caveat, is like, I'm fine with him coming back and being a big part of this, but it's got to be an original take on it. It's got to be an original idea. If he just brings Lord Draken back and he's like just super powerful and he's still like the same Draken that we saw before, it kind of undoes everything that undoing Shattered Grid undid, Like, it kind of gets a little Inception-y, but that's one thing I do hate about how they played all this, is like Shattered Grid and like, well, to me, Shattered Grid is like the first 30 issues, like that whole thing led up to something. So once you get to that singularity, like, they went back and erased everything that happened. Basically, when they reset the grid, they erased everything. So technically, that doesn't even really happen if you really think about it all. So to me, like, that's the only thing is, like, don't bring back the same Draken, because that Draken technically doesn't even exist anymore in time, unless there's some kind of like crazy loophole they're going to come up with. But
Yeah,
even so, like, I want to see a unique take on Draken. I don't want them to just bring him back because they know everybody will tune in and read, you know.
it's interesting to me, like going back and rereading Shattered Grid about how like there's all these different Ranger teams that existed after the Rangers, and then with the Shattered Grid, they all existed at the same time, and so they're able to go to all these different worlds where they're all at. But at the same time, there is Draken's world where he's from, and also that's the world where the Ranger Slayer is from. So I'm assuming we're that's why they're doing a Ranger Slayer one shot, is we're gonna get more information on Draken and how he came to be. And Kim was, I'm assuming the whole thing is Kim was being with him because, you know, she's destined to be with Tommy, and then figures out obviously that he's bad, so she can't be with him anymore. So I'm assuming that's how that's going to go. We're going to get something about how Lord Draken took over their world and how that affected the Ranger Slayer, and how she turned from being a normal Kim Pink Ranger to using the Sword of Darkness as her bow and arrow. So how her powers are a little bit warped and different. So I'm excited about that. And I think, like I said, I think that's why Lord Draken's coming in back again along with the same time as a Ranger Slayer one shot. I think that's all. It's all tying together for the next storyline or event with Power Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, my only thing with that is, what else is there to explore about Lord Draken's background? Like, we kind of know everything about it, right?
I
Because it's
mean,
basically the same all the way up until, you know, from birth until he becomes the Green Ranger, and then, you know, he decides to go back to Rita, and then we know he just goes around through different dimensions and timelines and steals all the coins and all of that, and then we get the big super war. So, like, I
well,
don't know what else there would be to explore in his background other than that
other than the,
relationship, but how long would that be?
other than the world he created that's still there, is there other people in that world still? You know what I mean? And like, I don't know. It is there's still a lot of questions that are left unanswered, and about how, and also like about all those other teams of Rangers. Like, do they still exist after him or at the same time? Because he did kill the Tommy from the Zeo Rangers at the end of the annual that year, because there was like 4 stories all tied into Shattered Grid, and Tommy was Draken is portraying Tommy in that one, and at the end he doesn't kill any of the Rangers other than killing Tommy, who was a Red Zeo Ranger in that story. So there's a lot that still has to be answered, in my opinion, when it comes to the Power Rangers and Draken. But I'm excited to see what happens with it. You did mention something that before we started, that the artwork in the first like 16 issues. Who'd you say that it was, like Pesetia or something, or
I never remember his last name. His first name is Hendry.
Hendry
Hendry H.
or something? Let me look up.
Yeah. And mostly, once I saw his name on one of the issues, I remember listening to all the boom rooms where Kyle Higgins says his name like a million times. He's like, "Oh yeah, I just give it off to Hendry," and he comes back with something amazing.
His art, his art is 10 times better than any of the art that we've gotten since he left the series in like issues 16 or 20 or whatever it was.
Yeah. To me, him and Dan Mora are probably the 2 best artists we had on the whole thing. I really like the amount of detail that Hendry puts, but I do feel like Dan Mora has a little bit better sense of like energy and motion and stuff in his artwork.
It is Hendry Presetia. So Presetia, yep. So,
but like the level of detail and grit, and like, it's not photorealistic, but it does look a lot like the actors from the show and stuff, you know, compared to like these really flat designs that we're getting out of the more modern pieces.
Let me show off one of the pages that he did here really quick.
Well, I mean, like, oh man, what is it, like issue 3 or 4 or something? Whenever Tommy like jumps on the pterodactyl and like jumps down through the Dragon Zord's window and like busts in the window.
Yeah.
That page alone is just like, what?
Be the first page of issue 0 where he's standing. I'm assuming that. Oh, here it is, right here. Let me show this really quick. I mean, that has to be. That has to be Draken, right? Or is that just like a bad dream? Like it shows all their stuff shattered and everything, and a sword of darkness. But like, look at the art. That art is incredible. That is just incredible. So.
Yeah, his artwork was really good, super detailed. I mean, a lot of the covers we see don't even have as much detail as his panels did, you know?
Yeah.
So that artwork is awesome.
I like that what I like about his Henry Presetia is that his felt like it was actually drawing. Like you could tell it's shaded and there's inking going on, where it feels like a lot of the art since then is just computer generated, and it's just like all like you said this a billion times. It looks like Dragon Ball Z or anime or manga or whatever.
Yeah, it's got that super simple lines, very flat design look of anime.
Colorful, and it just looks more, like you said, just looks more anime Dragon Ball Z versus comic book. Like it doesn't look like these first 16 issues. It looks like someone that's illustrating it is an actual comic book illustrator versus someone who's only done,
Yeah, and then do you remember the artwork from 17?
I don't remember that. Let's see.
No? Oh my god, like it's like somebody had a broken fountain pen or something when they did the inking. Like it's so dark and shadowy, and like the whole edges of the faces are just like all black, and it does that for like 2 or 3 issues, and then it changes again, and does it for like 2 or 3 issues, and then all of a sudden it gets like a lot cleaner but a lot simpler.
Well, it's the same person for 17. It says, so maybe you're thinking of another number.
Oh, maybe it's a little bit farther back.
I don't know.
But yeah,
they did change artists for like every 5 to 6 issues in the first 20 issues to give the artists a break for like a one-off story. So I do know what you're talking about. Where like they look,
yeah, because there's some issues that like
Zach was offered the Green Ranger coin. That was a different artist.
Yeah, they had a couple of like single issues that were like a fill-in artist, and then after like 16 or 20 or something, they changed artist. It might have been 21. I almost want to say 20 is whenever they tell Grace Sterling's story, and then 21 opens with her and all the Rangers in the command center, and it's just super heavy blacks and real dark and very different.
Here's my question for you. So Grace Sterling took the Psycho Green Ranger's sword and Go-Go, I think. Can't remember. No, it was Orphan like issue like
22,
21?
24,
21, 22, somewhere in there. Whatever it is. And then in Go-Go issue 30, the most recent one, we see that Goldar and all those people are trying to get back that Psycho Green Ranger's sword that Zordon has, right? And so, like, did she give it back? Did they take it back? Did she bring it back? What's your theories on that?
Man, I really don't know, because that's a timeline issue. That's a reset of the grid issue, because she takes it in Mighty Morphin. And then in Beyond the Grid, that she has it. They use it to power Promethea. Because the whole thing with Beyond the Grid is like after they defeat Lord Draken, they don't have any way to like time travel and stuff. Yep. So they can't get all those Rangers, they can't get them back to their actual timelines. Like if they went back they would be stuck in the time in the period of time they're in now, which means there would be like two of each of those people, which would butterfly effect like crazy. So instead, they all get on Promethea, and Promethea goes out into this like in between time and space and dimensions and stuff, where there's no morphing grid or anything. They're beyond the grid, and so they use the Psycho Dagger to power Promethea, because Promethea is powered by the Psycho energy.
Unless they're on Promethea there, but I thought they were down in the command center.
No, they are, but that's the thing is like in Beyond the Grid, that's how they power Promethea, and that's how they morph. They use the Psycho energy that's stored in the dagger. They use that almost like a battery. They use it to morph when they need to morph. And then once they reset the grid at the beginning of Necessary Evil, that means I don't know where the dagger's at. I don't know what happened with it at that point, because the timeline is whatever they say it is now, you know? There's nothing definitive saying like, well, these are the things that were changed when we reset the grid. Like, we have no clue until they tell us what was changed.
They are at Promethea because they're in the city when they're breaking in to get.
Yeah, but I thought that was the whole point of like Billy and Grace finding the secret room in the command center.
Because they're standing on top of Promethea, and Grace Sterling's there. It is a weird timeline. They need to figure out the Power Rangers timeline. Either that, or they're just going to say, you know, kind of like the MCU, we don't care about the timeline. We're just going to keep creating stories. If you remember something, you remember something. If not, whatever.
Yeah, and that kind of bothers me. I feel like whenever they reset the grid and everything, I was like, okay, they're going to like slowly kind of give us the rules and like give us a clue. But I mean, we're so far in, and it's literally just whatever they tell us is what we know about what was reset and what wasn't, you know? And that kind of frustrates me as a reader and, you know, somebody that's interested in story. Like, I don't know where they're at in time. I don't know what's going on, you know?
Yeah. And what's interesting is it kind of felt like they were telling the same story in Go that they were telling in Mighty Morphin, when they had a Putty playing Mats, and then in Mighty Morphin they had all these different Finster creations being people that turn into these monsters. It felt like the exact same story, if I'm being completely honest. You couldn't tell if they're monsters or if they're people. So I don't know if that was by design or they couldn't come up with their own stuff. I don't know. It's interesting, but going back and like reading all of it straight through and reading both series at the same time, I was able to catch on to a lot more than I did the previous times, just because you can read like multiple issues in a row and you kind of remember what happened, so you can look for more things. So I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely picked up on a lot more by like being able to read all the way through everything instead of having to wait every month, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you know, what is it? Rita and Draken, they come and like take over the world, and they have all the Zords, and everybody just like cowers in fear.
Yep.
And then you get Grace Sterling's story, which means that she was there when that happened, and Promethea was there, and like they didn't do anything.
No, they did not.
And I'm 99% sure it's because Kyle Higgins hadn't planned that far yet, so he didn't even know he was going to do the whole Grace Sterling and old team and Promethea. But it is kind of weird that like they meet her, and they even like reference when Rita took over the planet. But like, and Promethea's got a mech, like she has her own Zord basically, and yet they did nothing. They just sat there and let Rita take the planet.
They did say, well, they didn't have the Zord yet. So going back and rereading it, they said that when Rita took over the Power Rangers Zords, that was why she created her own Zord.
Yeah.
So that is why so she didn't have it yet, but yes, they did have the Psycho Green Ranger's dagger, and they had Draken, which is a whole other thing too. So to me, there are several loose ends, but three big ones that they need to shore up. Obviously, Lord Draken, what's going on there? They need to shore up the timeline, and then they need to shore up all these other characters like Matt. Like where is Matt at right now? Is he going to come back and he's going to be a good person? Is he going to be a villain? Are we going to get back the Yellow Ranger from Grace's original team? Like, there's a lot of loose ends out there. That's like, I'm wondering, are they going to come? They have to be. They have to come back. That's why they're a loose end, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I really want to see Matt Cook do a heel turn, and like he feels so slighted because every time, like, he's such a good guy, and like he's very capable of being a ranger. I mean, he's almost in some ways a clone of Jason, you know, and he's such a good guy. He's always the upstanding guy. He's always like Mr. Does Right, and then they always screw him over somehow, you know. The most recent being like he finally is like kind of getting back with Kim, and then Tommy walks up and like she just like disses Matt for Tommy, you know, and
and he knows that they're Rangers, but he won't tell anyone, which is amazing.
Yeah, because he's just such a good guy. Like
I wanted him. Like I'm thinking, going back, and I'm like, why didn't Rita like use him to be the Green Ranger to infiltrate the Power Rangers and then destroy them from the inside with someone even more powerful than this stupid putty that they use? Now, obviously, I know that there's a whole other storyline. They couldn't use a Green Ranger yet, but that like, Matt felt like and obviously it doesn't line up with the show, but it feels like I thought it was too geeky for me. I don't know. It feels like he would have been the perfect candidate for the Green Ranger powers for sure.
Yeah, I would love to, because I mean, like, I like the show, and you know, like I loved it as a kid and stuff. But I have no, like, I'm one of those people that doesn't, I don't like hate it, but I don't really care that you know, Ryan Perot is like so beholden to the show, and he's like annotating what episodes to watch to like get this and that. Like, the show is just a hodgepodge, and like to try to fit into that continuity to me is a waste of time. Like, just be like, you watched it when you were a kid, you remember the basic elements of it. Now here's a whole universe of like an adult style continuation, you know? But I don't know, whenever they get so beholden to that stuff, like I would love to see Matt show up as like Lord Draken, and he's like beating everybody up, and you're just like, oh man, he is as powerful as we remember. And he like pulls off the helmet, and it's Matt instead of Tommy, and then you're just like, what does this all mean? There's a timeline to explore. But I don't know, like that's my thing. Like if they bring back Draken, what's the new spin on it other than he's a good guy for some reason, you know? That's about the only way I can see that really coming back to be truly interesting.
Well, we're going to get something with the Morphin Masters at some point too, because obviously the red emissary is going to die based on those FOC covers, and that only leaves a yellow emissary to watch over the entire grid for the Morphing Masters. So they're going to get new emissaries. Like, how is that going to happen, you know? And I mentioned, I thought it would be cool, like a good send-off for Trini to become that yellow emissary, since she, obviously the character that played her passed away. I feel like it'd be cool. Ryan just blew my mind with that. I feel like it'd be cool if she became that, and I just don't know. Like, I thought, honestly, them killing off the blue and red emissaries like are kind of like crazy to me, because like I thought they were like kind of like more like spirits than actual things that you could kill. But obviously, Kaya killed the blue one, and I'm assuming it's Draken that kills the red one. Like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting because they kind of make them out to be these all-powerful beings that are all the Rangers all at the same time. If they're so powerful, how do they keep dying? Like, I need that explained to me more.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. What I will say though is, I think I brought this up before. Like in Dogma, you know, you have, you know, he's the voice of God. God cannot speak because, like, what's the character in comics where he can't speak or else everybody would die? They can't fathom what he would have to say or whatever. Like, it's kind of like that. Like the Morphin Masters can't speak directly to mortals because we cannot comprehend like their godlike state. And so the emissaries are basically their voice. Like they communicate through them, you know, because as mortals we couldn't comprehend.
I was saying to the G.I. Joe character, the Snake Eyes guy that doesn't talk.
Oh my god. Is it the Eternals? Is that what I'm thinking of?
I don't know. I don't know any of the Eternals.
Black Bolt? Am I onto something here? Anybody in the chat know? I think it's Black Bolt or something. He's like a character that doesn't speak, because if he did, he would just like destroy everything. And I don't know. Anyway, that's kind of how the Morphin Masters are. Like, we as mortals cannot comprehend them and their presence, and therefore the emissaries are kind of the go-between and their voices, basically. But there is a lot of questions about how much power is delivered with that. Like, how strong are they? Why can somebody just walk up on them and like hit them in the back of the neck and they're done? You know?
Exactly. Like both of them were destroyed with one blow each.
Inhumans. There we go.
Black Bolt from the Inhumans. So
there we go. The Gray Man and Adrian Panda was on it for me. Thank you guys.
You guys hit up my giveaway. Ends on Saturday. You too, Ryan. You need to hit up that giveaway.
Yeah.
You can make your video on Instagram. That's fine.
Cool.
I don't know. I'm enjoying. We've been talking for 40 minutes about Power Rangers, jumping back and forth between Go-Go and Mighty Morphin. If you couldn't tell already, we are big Power Ranger fans. You know what's interesting is that when I was going through all these entries and video entries into my contest, like I figured like everyone was just going to say just the Green Ranger. I actually got a lot of Red Ranger answers, and everyone was saying that their favorite Ranger was actually the Red Ranger because he was the original leader from the original team before Tommy was added and kind of stole the limelights. And I think you've said before that you kind of like Jason more than Tommy and any of the others.
Yeah, especially as a leader. But whenever it comes to the show, for me, it was always Jason and Billy. Like, those were my characters on the show. I really like Jason for his sense of leadership and Billy for his nerdy smartness. Going back and reading Mighty Morphin, not only is Kyle Higgins writing better than I remember, which I think part of that comes with how it starts to fall apart toward the end. But in Mighty Morphin, the way Kyle Higgins writes the characters, like for me, Billy and Trini all the way. Like, he crushes it with those two characters. They are amazing in this series. And even his Tommy's really good. Like, whenever Tommy and Billy go off together, like, it's a lot of really good interactions because it's like the dumb one versus, you know, hanging out with the smart one, you know?
Yeah.
And like Tommy, you know, he's like, isn't there like something you could do to like, you know, protect our faces so they can't see us? And he's like, oh yeah, an electromagnetic inverter and this, you know? And I'm like, he's like, yeah, I'm glad I could be here for you, Billy, you know? Like, that stuff's great. That's great banter.
He literally wasn't, he was just standing there while Billy was doing all this work. He's like, why do I do it?
Yeah. And then like Go-Go with Ryan Perot, his writing, I feel like he keeps all the Rangers pretty level. But on that side, I think Jason and Billy and even Zach are kind of the standouts on that team.
I feel like Kim is a standout on that one. She was the salad girl. She jumps between the different boys. She's going on dates. She went on a date with Skull.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I kind of feel like she's more of the centerpiece there. But I do like the voices Zach gets as well. So it's interesting. We pretty much named every character about how they get their own voice. Zach,
that's the other thing. Like Ryan Perot's writing, like to me, he has every Ranger's voice down. They all sound in my head. I can hear them. Whereas with Kyle Higgins, like there's not a lot of variation in the dialogue. One, he writes a lot more dialogue than I remember reading originally.
Yeah.
But two, like all the characters kind of sound the same, other than kind of the ones I was talking about, like Billy and Trini, and Tommy, they all kind of get like some standout dialogue. But nobody has like a lot of inflections or like individuality to him. It feels like he's just kind of writing dialogue most of the time.
Yeah, I could see that. But at the same time, his writing for those first 16 issues, 17 issues, 0 through 16, really good. Really good.
Yeah.
those two one-off issues, they were okay. In my opinion, the Zach issue was more interesting to me than the Billy issue, just because like it was just Billy just kind of just being, I'm not good enough to be in this team. While Zach was like, and it's kind of interesting thinking about someone else with a Green Ranger coin. But overall,
Yeah.
like my favorite issues are 0, 1, 9, 12, and 16 from Kyle Higgins' run. So.
Oh, see, and I would actually go with zero's really good, one's really good. Really like the first like 0 through 4. So it felt like he was
Yeah.
really on the ball and making sure that he made his mark. And those are all so solid. But to me, 10 with the Billy story, like that's probably my favorite issue of all the Ranger comics. It's just, I don't know. I like that character and I find the story very relatable. And I like what comes from that because you see so much insecurity with Zach over all of this stuff. But then after the Billy issue, or even at the end of it, you get a lot of stuff with Zach reassuring Billy, even though he himself is kind of unsure.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And then I think it's number 20, right? The Grace Sterling 1969 issue.
I think
That's
so.
that's a standout for me as well. I really like that story, and I would kind of like to see more happen with that. But I think I would like to see Kyle Higgins do it, like come back and do like a one shot or a graphic novel or something.
Yeah, I
I think
agree.
that would be really cool to see because I really like that team and that story, and there's got to be something else they could do there in some way.
I agree. I would like him to come back for like an issue or two. For Ryan Parrott's run, I think the first few issues are really good. I would have liked to have seen him write with the Green Ranger Tommy versus the White Ranger Tommy because it's a totally different mindset for the White Ranger Tommy coming in and being the leader. He still kind of feels like he's an outsider, but at the same time, like he's not since he's the leader and he's most powerful. Well, I would have liked to see how he would have written him as the true outsider on a team
Yeah,
from the beginning.
and I think that's kind of where he came up with the Matt Cook character as well. Is like he doesn't get a Tommy, so how does he introduce a sixth person to mess with that dynamic and kind of be that outsider? So I think that's kind of what that was all about, was him trying to kind of find his Tommy character.
I agree. I appreciate everyone for hanging out in the chat. We've just been talking Power Rangers for almost an hour. You want to talk any more about any of those other books that you've been reading? I know you like those independent books, and then we can talk a little more Power Rangers too if you want to. But I just wanted to give you the floor if you want to talk about any of those.
Well, I mean, the man that effed up time. The thing that kind of sucks is like all of these issues came out, and there's like 1 or 2 of the issues, and then we have no clue what's going to happen next. I'm sure those books are going to see the light of day. I don't think they're going to cancel all these series because of this, but it might be May before we get any books. It might be August. We really don't know at this point.
I think June is. I want to say the first week of June is when books are going to start coming back. I do think it'll probably be better for the whole country before that, because I think we're going to hit our peak this week or next week, and then I think it'll start going back down. But why'd you point at me like that?
That might be you guys. Our peak is expected between May 2nd and May 5th.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. But
yeah,
I do think
Texas, especially Houston's like way behind.
I think that sometime in May we're going to be a lot better than we were, but I do think they're going to wait until June before they start getting comic books back and the nation back. But who knows?
Well,
it's speculation right now.
Yeah. Have you paid any attention to what's going on with Diamond?
No, I have not.
Because I don't know like a ton about it, but they are basically the ones that stopped comic books.
They are
because they basically have a monopoly. Yeah. And so whenever they decided to stop shipping, it was kind of a safety thing, which makes sense. I mean, we were finding out the virus lives for days on like cardboard and stuff. So that is a concern. But then after they shipped the books, then it came out that they were requiring payment from the stores they were shipping to, but they were denying payment to the publishers that they got the books from. And
Jeez.
then as more has come out, it's sounding like they basically were on the verge of bankruptcy. They've been basically, they deliver the books and get the money from the stores, and then they use that money to pay the publishers for the books they just gave to the stores. So they were living paycheck to paycheck, and so this was kind of their excuse to get out of business, you know.
So there might be a new game in town to start doing that, or otherwise they're gonna have to start up prices.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to figure something out, because basically what it sounds like right now, from what I've heard at least, is that Diamond is out of business. Like, they're folding. So therefore, there's nobody set up to distribute right now. So they still have to figure out how they're going to get the books to the stores for now, you know? Not that I think it's an impossible task, like, especially Marvel, DC, and Image. They'll just drive the books to the stores themselves, you know, but that's not a good long-term solution, and they're going to have to figure out how they're going to handle that going forward.
All right, I'm gonna show this really quick, okay? Let me see if I can. Okay, can you see that? All right, this was posted yesterday. COVID-19 continues to impact the world in an unprecedented way, such as the temporary closures of Alliance game distributors and Diamond comic distributors, both owned by Jeppy Family Enterprises and both dominate in their fields. These secessions include the suspension of payments to publishers, though as of this writing, some payments are occurring through Diamond. The closure was covered in N-World and ICV2, offering additional insight into Alliance and Diamond situation. But how would these closures impact the tabletop publishers? So basically, yeah, just like you just said, they're like shutting down, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the insider info, well, the things I've been hearing from certain people that supposedly are getting this insider info is basically like
they Chino and Manny.
No. But basically they were saying, you know, they were on the verge of going out of business or going bankrupt or whatever else, you know. And so this was basically like a quick excuse. Like, we're about to have to announce that we're closing down. And then this popped up and they're like, oh, we're going to stop shipping books, you know. Yep. So convenient excuse showed up is how I'm kind of hearing all this. But, you know, I'm not in the business. I don't know anything, so don't take my word for it. But that's what I've been hearing from a lot of different places. So that's crazy to me that it got that bad for them, you know. And to me, that reflects on the comic book industry. Not in the sense like, oh, we made a, you know, they made a bad deal and letting them monopolize, because that part's obvious. But, you know, if they were the monopoly, you know, it'd be like if Microsoft like went bankrupt and you're like, dude, like, you have like almost a monopoly on home computers. So yeah, if you couldn't stay in business, then what's the problem? It can't possibly be selling the product. It's the profit margin or something. So yep. Are they not charging enough to cover books? Well, how could the only distributor not be making enough to support their own business, you know?
I agree. I don't know, man. It's crazy.
And does that mean that books are going to go up?
I mean, I think the market could support all books going up $1. I mean, I'd pay $5 regularly for a Power Rangers Rick versus $4. Mm-hmm. I'd pay $5 or $6 for a Batman book every time. I mean, I think most people would, but anything like going up $2 though, like I don't see how that could. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I have no complaints about the price. Like, $4 for a great story, like, to me that's actually kind of undervalued. At the same time, if prices go up, I'm gonna have to be a little more judicious in my choices as to what I buy. And so if it goes up too much, it is going to be a problem. If you're talking about $6, $7, $8 a book, that's not a good value to me.
So what I think, this is what they need to do. They need to cut their lines, DC and Marvel do, and up their price $1. Because if they're not paying people for half their line, they're saving a lot of money. and then them and Diamond will also make more money by upping their prices on the books $1. So I mean, they're saving money by not paying people to do it, and they're making more money on the ones that they are selling. So like they don't need 6 Batman books. They need, maybe 3, They don't need a Justice League of America and a Justice League Society and a regular Justice League. They need just one Justice League. They don't need an Avengers, North, South, East, West, Juniors, all that. They need to cut down all of the public really needs to cut down all these characters that are side characters. They don't need their own story. They need to be put in other stories.
Especially like Marvel and DC, their editorial needs to get on top of this and be like, we don't need Batman and Nightwing and Robin and Red Hood. Like everybody doesn't need a book. We need to get the people that are writing Batman to fold in some of the Bat family more often, so people don't feel like they're just missing all the time.
They do that in Detective Comics. It's like, so the Batman title is literally just Batman, which they could fold in the Robins in there more, in my opinion. But like Detective Comics, you got Batwoman, you got Batgirl, Black Lightning was in there. You have all of these other Damian Wayne Robin is in there. They have a lot more of the side characters in Detective Comics than the Batman title has, which is literally just Batman, and there's Catwoman in there too. So
yeah,
they do.
I just think back to the days when I was watching like Batman the Animated Series. I was never like, man, I wish they would do a Robin spinoff show and a Nightwing spinoff show and a Batgirl. Like I felt like they were involved enough in the show. They appeared enough. I never felt like they were missing.
Well, what they could do is they could just do one Robin book, put all the Robins in there, make a Robin team, dude. Like that would be fun.
Well, I guess kind of like what they're doing with Nightwing, right?
Yeah, and honestly, Nightwing is, even though he goes by Rick Grayson and he doesn't really know who he is, it's actually really well written and put together. Honestly, I've actually really enjoyed the last 10 issues. So I don't know. I definitely think like you said, there's a ton of other characters that do not need their own book. Like Black Lightning doesn't need their own book. I'm going to go through here. I'm going to go through some of the books that have been released lately on DC and Marvel, and I want to talk about.
Yeah, I believe that DC, Marvel, and even Image could cut their publications by like 40 to 50%, and they would probably increase their revenue overall.
It's okay. Let's see here. 325. Let me go through here. So Batgirl, in my opinion, okay, Batgirl, you can do Birds of Prey and Batgirl in one, I guess. Legion of Superheroes, you don't need their own story for that. Suicide Squad, do we really need their own book for that? Last God, what is that? Books of Magic, what is that? Batman Beyond, I don't know. I mean, I get it.
People really like that one. But, okay, here's my thing with Batman Beyond. It being in the future makes sense to be its own book.
Yeah.
But I've heard that they somehow like folded time over, so now Batman Beyond exists in the current timeline. Is that true?
It does.
Okay, see, that's stupid. Why? Why? That's so stupid. There should be. It's like Marvel 2099 books, like that makes sense. A universe that takes place in the future. Why would they fold Batman over? Why wouldn't they build a future universe around that?
Here's some Wolverine books. We don't need an X-Men and Fantastic Four together. We don't need an X-Force and an X-Men. We need just one. You can fold over some characters. They have all these like preludes to stuff. Punisher Soviet, we don't need that. Jessica Jones, we don't need that. Hellions, we don't need that. We don't need Force Works. I mean, we don't need. What are some other ones here I'm reading? Revenge of the Cosmic Ghost Rider. Like, come on. Like, who's green lighting these series? Like, seriously, there's a ton of these other characters that.
What they need to do with all that stuff is delegate that to like graphic novels or just like straight to trade paperback.
Yep.
We're going to give you a 150-page story of Punisher Communist or whatever it was, like that makes sense. But giving them even a mini series just doesn't make sense. Why are people buying floppies of some kind of like what if world? You know,
I agree. I agree.
like just
There is
release those as graphic novels.
too
That
many.
is one thing I think Boom does really well with Power Rangers is like, man, people really are responding well to the Cycle Rangers. Let's do a graphic novel that tells their story.
Yeah,
People really want to see this like Time Ranger thing, so we're gonna do a graphic novel, the Soul of the Dragon or whatever, you know, like those
Soul of the
graphic
Dragon
novels sold.
Soul of the Dragon was really good.
It
I
was
like.
pretty cool. I liked it, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but that's something that Boom's done very well. They're like the market would be oversaturated with Power Rangers if we were constantly putting out floppies of all the things that everybody wants. But we can pay an artist and a writer to put together a graphic novel that tells a really solid story.
Yeah.
Because even if they went with floppies, it would be a 4 to 5 issue miniseries that would get collected into a 150-page trade paperback. So why not just start it out as a graphic novel, and then you don't have to worry about all the issue breaks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only problem with that is the creators are going to want that money that they normally get from single issues that end up getting folded into trades. So
yeah, but I mean, I feel like that's part of the system that is going to have to change, because the way it works right now is they get paid every once a month, basically the week that it comes out, like the week after they get paid off of all the floppies that they sold or whatever. And they do that monthly, and then whenever the trade paperback comes out, they make a bigger chunk of change off of it.
is that how the creators get paid? They don't get paid like a certain amount for being on the book for a certain time?
It depends. It depends. That's more the indie side. Like Marvel and DC, they're paid, as I understand that, it's basically a salary, and you're going to write whatever books, you know.
They sign them to exclusive contracts.
Yeah, but like your Image and stuff, like you know, you put the books out, they take their cut, and you get your cut, and so you get a little paycheck out of every month, you know, and
Yeah.
and then once they publish the trade paperbacks of it, then you get a really big chunk of that, you know, like that's where they really make their money. But that only happens if the book is doing well enough in floppies to make it to trades, you know, and to
Yeah.
keep going. So they need the floppy money every month. They need that to pay their bills so that they can get that trade money so they can, you know, save it or reinvest it or whatever, you know.
For sure. I think now we've talked about all these comic books that we need less books. I will say, I do think, and I've said this many times. This is not anything new. For the next Power Rangers events, or like any Power Rangers reboot, whatever it is, they need to do like one shots of each Ranger, and they could do one a week leading up to the next event. You know what I mean? It could be like a day in the life of Trini or whatever it is.
Power Rangers Pink, that was great. That was an awesome little like offshoot.
And
What was it? 5 issues? That would have been a great graphic novel instead of floppies.
Well, and they obviously they did print it into a graphic novel. That's how I read it actually. But yeah, I agree. So they've already done like ones with the Pink Ranger and the Black Ranger and the Blue Ranger. We haven't really gotten a solo story of Jason or of Trini, you know, and I think it would be for the next, like I said, each one of them, they need their own one shot leading up to something. You could just do 3 covers. You could do another helmet variant cover. You could do a regular cover and then just another cool variant cover, like a 1 of 25 or something. But I do think they all need their own. Is that you or me?
Oh, probably me. My neighbor's air conditioner just kicked on.
Oh.
Yeah, it's still hot enough for that down here.
Yeah. It was 86 here yesterday, and today it dropped to 60, but it was mostly like 50 or 55 all day. So
it's must be in the 80s or so, because tomorrow is supposed to drop to 76, and that's like a 19-degree drop.
Yeah, we had a 30 degree. I've enjoyed talking Power Rangers, man. We really didn't even have an agenda. We were just chatting. And we didn't have that many people in the chat, and that's okay. I already knew that. I mean, I had other people in here earlier this week. I didn't want to bother anyone because I knew we were mostly going to be talking Power Rangers, and there's
Mhm.
a small community of us that are the big Power Ranger fans. You, me, and Dustin. We listen to the Ranger Danger podcast, and we
Yeah.
analyze every single page. And we go back through and we reread them, and
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people. Like, I'll go to all these other live streams, and the first thing I get in there, if it's an unboxing or whatever, I get in there and I always say, "Hey, I'm here. You unboxing any Power Ranger books?" That's the first thing I always say. So like, cool, Steve from Burke Family, I am not unboxing Power Rangers. So there's not very many of us out there that read it, but the ones that do, we really, really
Oh
enjoy.
yeah, the fan base for Power Rangers is incredible. It kind of reminds me of kind of like Dynamite with like the Red Sonja and all that
Yeah.
stuff, where it's like nobody buys those books except the people that do, and then they buy all like 25 covers of every single issue and support that whole company.
I say the ones that do, we're hardcore about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly how Power Rangers feels. Like, there's not a lot of us, but we're all about it.
If you couldn't tell, I'm a big Power Rangers fan.
Yeah.
I have 3 sets of helmet variants that I could put on a wall. 3 different sets. I have the regular from issue 0, I have the foil covers, and I have the Shattered Grid helmet covers. And then I have a couple more that are slabbed. So
I don't think I have any like consistencies, but I've got like every cover that came out for Necessary Evil for like the first 5 issues or something.
Yeah, you did. I remember you showing them all off. You always sit them during the day while I'm on my see it. You got like 5 issues of Power Rangers in your bag. I'm like, geez, I'm gonna grab one cover.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I shop at a very small store, so they stopped getting a lot of the variants after the first initial ones.
Let's talk one more thing, Power Rangers, and we'll jump off here. As I'm honestly, as sad as it is that we're having to wait so long for issue 50 of Mighty Morphin, I'm actually more sad that we're having to wait so long for issue 5 of TMNT Power Rangers.
Oh yeah.
Issue. And we got to see a little taste of what's happening in issue 5, where Metalhead and the Megazord kind of merge to become one entity. So I'm interested to see how that works. That's been, like, in my opinion, Ryan Parrott's best writing overall has been in that series. I don't like the way that the turtles are drawn, but the writing in it has been really good, though I do obviously always wish Tommy was more involved versus, I know the story surrounds him, just like it surrounds him.
Yeah. It's just like right around him.
The Green Ranger is exactly, it surrounds him, so he's not actually, in that. It's just happening around him. But
he's like in the eye of a hurricane or something,
Yep, but I do feel like that is a perfect analogy. But I do feel like that has been his best writing, honestly.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't disagree. I really like what he did with the first 20 issues of Go-Go, but to me, what really sealed it was Forever Rangers and the way he tied that up. Like, that was the biggest complaint about Kyle Higgins' writing, is that, like, he didn't know how to end it. It just all fell apart. Whereas Perot was the exact opposite. Like, he tied up Forever Rangers so perfectly to me. Like, it just all came together. And Alpha One is probably my favorite, like, addition to the lore, that the comics have done. Like that, Grace Sterling and her team and Draken are probably like the 3 coolest things we've got added to the lore. So I really like the way Perot wraps things up. So I am excited for this crossover final issue, because I think that's where we'll really see him come through, is like how he wraps it all together. But it has been a really good series so far. I'm disappointed that, like, it would have been like, what, a week or 2 later that they canceled comics and we would have got it. Mm-hmm. And instead, we got to wait like months,
which sucks.
Diamond!
God darn it! Well, I just hope honestly that comic books just come back. Period. Honestly, that's just what I hope for. And I hope that the world goes back to normal, honestly. I will say this. The one thing I am happy about is that this whole pandemic happened after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. I'm just going to say that.
Oh my God! If it had canceled the Super Bowl, people would have lost their minds.
I mean, people already lost their mind about the NCAA tournament, which I wasn't too upset about because my basketball team this year was pretty bad compared to what it was a year ago. Like, if they would have canceled the tournament last year, I would have been irate. Round, I would have been really, really upset. But
I was blown away by how long it took Tokyo to get their shit together and cancel the Olympics.
Yeah.
I was like, they were like, we're still waiting to see it. I'm like, are you stupid? Like, half the world is shut down.
Parts of the world at different times. Like, yeah, are you stupid?
Yeah, like, but at the point that they finally canceled it, Japan was like the only people that weren't shut down.
Yeah.
Even the States were pretty much starting to shut down at that point, and they were still like, oh, we're thinking about it. It's like, who's going to go?
No one. It wasn't until Canada and all these other nations were saying we're not sending athletes that they're like, okay, we better cancel. It took pressure from other countries saying they're not sending. So
yeah, which now Japan's kind of paying for all of that. So
they are.
I
appreciate you, Ryan, for joining me. I'm not sure what happened to Dustin or Tori. They were supposed to be on here. I'm sure something important happened, so it's not a huge deal. But I do appreciate you joining me. We had a good time talking Power Rangers. We didn't have many people in chat, but it was a good time, and I do appreciate it, man.
I mean, we talked for over an hour about just Power Rangers, and it feels like it just went by like that.
It literally does. Like, I remember I keep looking at the clock, and all of a sudden we're at like 40 minutes. I'm like, whoa, we just started like 5 minutes ago. What's happening? That's what happens when we start talking Power Rangers, when we've both been reading through some stuff again, and I don't know.
Yeah, right.
It's fun. This is a good hobby to have, and it's fun, and especially when you're super geeks about Power Rangers like you and me. Kenneth says, hope you guys are doing well tonight. Have a wonderful night. Best of luck to your family and friends too. Thank you. Appreciate that. Ryan, go ahead and you can say goodbye, and then I will as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Check me out on Instagram, Nuexguy, Nuexguy. I just pretty much post. I post occasionally. I do a lot of stuff in my stories though, with what I'm reading, what's going on, and I try to have fun with that kind of stuff. I got a lot of Power Rangers going up right now because I've been reading through all the back issues and stuff. But I do have some ideas. Hopefully, I can throw up tomorrow in my stories that will kind of tie some of those old panels into what's going on right now in the real world. So kind of excited to do all that. It should be fun. So check me out on Instagram under Nuexguy, and subscribe, follow, like, tell me what you're all about, and we can always do stuff. So
awesome. Thank you, Ryan. As always, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I think everyone that's in chat is, or everyone that's watching it is, but if you're not, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. I'm closing in on 1,000 subscribers, so hopefully pretty soon I'll be at 1,000 and I can start getting paid for some videos. I will say, make sure that you enter my 700, 800 subscriber giveaway. I'm giving away this bad boy, among other things, and make sure you hit up that 700, 800 subscriber giveaway video. How to enter is in the video, in the video description if you don't want to watch 30 minutes of me rambling about comic books. Appreciate everyone for doing this. I definitely appreciate Ryan for hanging out, talking comic books and Power Rangers. We had a lot of fun, and I appreciate everyone for joining us. Again, I'm Steve from Berkfamily54comics. As always, go Cats. Everyone stay safe.